What's up, Alabama fans? It's Andrew Bone with BamaInsider.com. Just wanted to break down a little recruiting update for you guys today on this beautiful Tuesday. Latest on Arch Manning and a few other quarterbacks. We'll talk a little bit about Jordan Addison, some JUCO targets, some more official visits, and a couple of in-state recruits that have narrowed their list down to a top 11. So let's start with Arch Manning. There was a report that came out a few days ago that said that Alabama was out of the running for the nation's top quarterback, the number one recruit in the country, according to Rivals.com and various other services out there who cover recruiting. And we told Alabama fans on BamaInsider.com that simply just was not true at all. Weren't really sure where that story came from or why somebody decided to put this out. A lot of people have been saying that Arch Manning's recruitment has been a circus. Guess what, Alabama fans? He really hasn't done anything, nor has his family done anything to create any drama. They've been very quiet about their recruitment, have enjoyed unofficial visits, and have visited some of the similar schools. Have visited Alabama, Georgia, Texas, all the same amount of times. Everybody says, "Oh, well, he's visited Texas and Georgia so much more than Alabama." He really hasn't. He's visited the exact same number of times each one of those programs and plans on taking official visits to those three schools. Now, he could easily end up at Texas, could easily end up at Georgia, has very high interest in both of those schools, has a great relationship with the coaching staff at Texas, also has a good relationship with the coaching staff at Georgia, but came out and said that loves the town of Athens, loves the college town, and certainly can see himself there. But with Alabama, the success at the quarterback position speaks volumes. He understands that Bryce Young will be gone after this year, as many expect him to leave early for the NFL draft. So that's going to create a wide open quarterback competition for Alabama heading into next year. And obviously, they recruit extremely well at the position. Jalen Milroe, Ty Simpson, but they're still going to go after the best quarterbacks in every single recruiting class and going to try to sign the best quarterback. And like I said, that competition is going to be wide open in the fall. If you look at schools like Georgia and Texas, they've also recruited extremely well at the quarterback position. So it's not like they don't have any good players on their team, on their roster. So they've got 5 stars as backups right now, and but they're still going after top quarterback prospects, including Arch Manning. It's going to be a wild race until the finish line, but we know that Alabama remains very much in the thick of things. Pete Golding, Bill O'Brien were at Arch Manning's practice on Monday, and you can best assure that they are going to continue to heavily recruit him until he makes that final decision, or at least until he tells Alabama that they're no longer in the picture. But they remain very strongly in the mix. But there are other quarterbacks who are out there that Alabama coaches have high interest in. You don't just recruit one quarterback. You recruit multiple quarterbacks because you don't put all your eggs in one basket with hopes to just land that one guy. If he goes elsewhere, you don't have a backup plan. These guys aren't necessarily backup plans that they're still recruiting. You have Eli Holstein, who Alabama has seen, who they have evaluated. They went and saw him in spring practice a couple weeks ago. They're going back to see him this week during his spring game. Evaluated him last summer during the Ties camp, and that's when he first received that offer from Alabama. Now he committed to Texas A&M a couple weeks after that, but I think a lot of that had to do with him knowing that Ty Simpson was already on board. Alabama was pretty in pretty good shape at quarterback, but knowing that the competition is going to be wide open after next year, I certainly think that his interest remains very high in Alabama. Has visited Tuscaloosa 3 times already in 2022 and plans on getting back to Tuscaloosa at some point in June. Now, there's one other quarterback out there that Alabama continues to have a lot of interest in, and that's Dylan Lonergan. Out of Georgia, out of Snellville, Georgia, has visited Alabama several times, has the Crimson Tide in his top 5. I'm interested to see kind of what Alabama ends up doing there, because we know that he has high interest in Alabama and Alabama has interest in him. There's some talk that Alabama could potentially take 2 quarterbacks in this class. So if Eli Holstein or Arch Manning decides to jump on board, I don't think that they're necessarily going to be finished at the quarterback position. So keep that in mind. But I do think with Eli Holstein, Arch Manning, a lot of it's going to come down to who decides to commit first. I don't necessarily think that Alabama's sitting there waiting to see what Arch is going to do or sitting there waiting to see what Eli's going to do. I think it's all about who's going to jump on board first. So we're all waiting to see what happens. Expect both of these guys, along with Dylan Lonergan, in Tuscaloosa in June, and it's going to continue to create a lot of talk on message boards. So don't always believe every rumor that you hear. The Mannings don't talk to anybody. They're not creating any drama. A lot of it's just stemming from websites, message boards, predictions, forecasts, crystal balls, whatever you want to put in there, or say, that's where people are getting that stuff. They're not getting it from, from Arch Manning at all. He's been quiet. He's, been very patient about this recruiting process, continues to talk to several coaching staffs, but Alabama, Georgia, Texas, the main contenders there. He's going to get to Florida, probably going to get to LSU before making that final decision. So we're going to keep watching his recruitment along with these other quarterbacks' recruitments pretty closely. Now, I know Alabama fans have been, patiently waiting to see what's going to happen with Jordan Addison, the former Pitt wide receiver who's in the transfer portal for this past season's Biletnikoff Award winner. Now, this is definitely somebody that Alabama would love to add. There's no doubt about it. I mean, who wouldn't want to add a Biletnikoff Award winner and somebody that can certainly make your team better? And this is a guy that has been rumored to USC for the last week or so, and certainly expected him to announce a decision for the Trojans shortly after he entered the transfer portal. But guess what? He hasn't yet. He's still out there. I don't know if Alabama is going to be the destination, but Alabama certainly is interested. They want him to visit. I know a lot of Alabama fans have been paying attention to different players on Alabama's team who are following him on Twitter. That's been the talk of the message boards the last couple of days. But I really wouldn't buy into that just yet. Just kind of watch it. Let's see what happens. See if he makes a trip to Tuscaloosa. We do know that Alabama is recruiting him, that they would like to get him on campus for a visit. We don't know if that's going to happen yet. The odds are that he is going to end up at USC, but with him not making a decision quite yet, I think that we can at least wait and see what ends up happening as far as visits go. But no predictions for him to Alabama just yet. Let's just see if he makes that trip to Tuscaloosa first. Moving on over to the junior college ranks, we saw a few days ago Miles Kitzelman just absolutely came out of nowhere. We were fortunate to break that news to Alabama fans last week when he announced his commitment to Alabama. We actually spoke to Miles on Thursday evening, reached out to him. He told us, he said, hey, go ahead and run with that commitment. So we posted in the news. He ended up announcing it the following day after he got a commitment graphic from the Crimson Tide, but we didn't want to run anything without his permission. So got confirmation from Miles to go ahead and run with it last Thursday night, and just kind of out of nowhere, Alabama coaches when saw him. Actually, they weren't even going to see him. They were going to see his teammate Malik Benson, who is one of the top junior college wide receivers in the country at Hutchinson, and just happened to notice him. And they have been looking for a tight end, whether that was in the transfer portal or potentially in the junior college ranks. Saw this 6'5", 250-pound athlete who had already finished up his junior college classes, but was going to play another season in junior college. Fortunately, Alabama decided to extend him an offer, and you can imagine what the feeling must have been like for him, not having really any other offers to choose from, and then all of a sudden Alabama decides to extend him that offer. But big kid, big athletic kid, 6'5", 250 pounds plus, known as a blocker. Didn't have a lot of stats, but definitely gives some more depth to that tight end room. So I know Alabama coaches are excited. As far as junior college targets are concerned, there's really only two JUCO guys that Alabama is really pressing for right now, early in the process, early in this 2023 recruiting class. Malik Benson, as I just mentioned, one of the top wide receivers in the country, announced his top 5 the other day, with Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, LSU, and Oregon rounding out that group. think Alabama's in really good shape with Benson right now. He plans on visiting Tuscaloosa sometime in June. Obviously, having Miles Kitzelman on Alabama's team by that point, he's going to be there recruiting him, and I think Alabama's in really good shape. Another junior college target that I spoke with this week, we have a story on BamaInsider.com right now, is Elijah Davis, 6'5", 280-pound defensive lineman over at East Mississippi Community College. Definitely somebody for Alabama fans to keep a very close eye on. Originally from South Carolina, but grew up an Alabama fan and has actually coached on the defensive line at East Mississippi by former Alabama national champion, Brandon Dederick. So keep an eye on Elijah Davis making a trip to Tuscaloosa this summer, and I think Alabama's in very good shape. We're continuing to see more recruits set up official visits. Go to BamaInsider.com. Check out the visit date, the summer visit schedule. A lot of official visits starting to be scheduled by a lot of top recruits throughout the country. Added a few more this week, including Kansas City defensive lineman Edric Hill, four-star defensive lineman from North High School. Going to be making an official visit to Alabama on June the 24th. Crimson Tide recently went up and saw him during his spring practice and has recently turned up the heat on his recruitment. So that's certainly a guy that has really moved up Alabama's recruiting board. And also Miles McVay. We talked about Miles several times, one of Alabama's top offensive line targets out of East St. Louis High School in Illinois. He's going to be making a trip to Alabama for the Texas A&M game on October the 8th. That's going to be his official visit. And he's going to try to make it back to Tuscaloosa for an unofficial visit at some point during the summer. But we have a complete list of all the official visitors that are currently scheduled on Bama Insider right now. So go check that out. And then finally, wanted to discuss Quay Russo, James Smith, two of the very best prospects, defensive players in the entire country out of Carver High School in Montgomery. Both of those guys announced their top 11 this weekend on Sunday. Kind of the same, very similar schools, and it's kind of the schools that we really expected. Alabama, Texas, Texas A&M, Miami, USC, Ohio State, Florida, Georgia, Auburn. There's some other ones in there, but I think in the end, it's for both of those guys, it comes down to Alabama, Georgia, A&M, Auburn. I think those are kind of the heavy hitters in their recruitment. They took a visit down to Miami this spring. Really liked the visit down there, but I think with both of these kids being in-state recruits, definitely priority targets for Alabama. Not in any rush to make a decision. We're not going to see a decision from Quay Russo or James Smith until the end of the season, likely on the early signing period week. So just be patient there. It's going to be a long way. We know that we're going to hear different rumors on both of these kids for the next several months as to which way they're leaning, but you can certainly expect Alabama to be in the hunt for both of these Rivals 100 defenders all the way until the very end of their recruitment. That's a Tuesday update for you guys on the recruiting front. I'm Andrew Bone for BamaInsider.com. Have a great day.